that's right, Jude. So this week for Sing It Your Way, we catch up with Robbie Forde, who is living in Swords in Dublin. And so Robbie often attends our weekly virtual technology club meetings in Dublin, which I'm involved in myself. And I find he's always great to tell the group about a new piece of technology that he's found out about, or a new app that he's downloaded on his iPhone. And so today we're going to hear from Robbie about how he uses technology in his day-to-day life, as per usual in our Sing It Your Way pieces. And this includes for Robbie in college and in work. But he's also going to tell us about two other great passions that he has, which are motivational speaking and stand-up comedy. So he has an interesting story to tell us, which he offers plenty of kind of great advice along the way too. I think we're just about set to play the interview now with Robbie. So this week on Sing It Your Way, I'm delighted to be joined by Robbie Forde, who is living and working in Dublin, and who is also involved in motivational speaking and stand-up comedy. So Robbie, you're very welcome to the show.
Thanks, JP.
So Robbie, just to start off, I wonder, could you tell us a bit about yourself and your background, if you don't mind?
Myself, I'm a 38-year-old guy. I'm blind. I have very, very limited vision, so more or less blind. I lost my sight when I was younger, so I went from being fully sighted to having very diminished eyesight. And I just progressed from there.
It must have been very difficult.
It was at first, but like with the support of family and friends, I got back up and got on with it, because nothing's impossible. So I only realised that after this happened to me, that nothing is impossible.
And Robbie, as I mentioned a moment ago, you're living and working in Dublin. I wonder, could you tell us a bit about the technology that you use both in your day-to-day life and also in work?
Well, the technology, I suppose when I get up in the morning, I would, with the alarm on I use an iPhone. So, I just speak into the iPhone to set my alarm. So I'd use that. That'll get me up. Reluctantly, I want to get up some mornings, but that's how it goes. And then I would, after doing the usual, I would check on my phone. Then I have an app called Dublin Bus, and I'll see when the next bus is coming. So then when I'm on the bus, I have another app, which is a GPS app. There's a few different ones. I can't recall at the moment the one I use all the time. It's been so long since it's been 9 months since I've been out of the office.
Yeah, you work from home, Robbie, I take it.
I am indeed. But with the other app that I have on the bus, it tells me where I actually am. So I wouldn't even have to rely on the bus driver to tell me when my stop is there, because the technology, the GPS on my phone will just feed into the earphone in my ear to tell me where I am. And so it's fantastic.
Excellent. So, Robbie, it's certainly impressive, I think, how quickly people have adapted to working from home over the last year or so, and how reliant we are on technology. What do you think about that as well?
It's good in a way that you're at home. However, I do miss the interaction in the office with my colleagues.
Yeah.
Because it can be quite lonely at home, and also it's much easier to ask a question face to face or over a cup of tea in the office than it is through emails or just over the phone. You know?
Absolutely.
But again, it's not impossible. Like working from home.
Yeah.
It's fine. Just we'll have to make do at the moment until this is all over, which it will be at some stage.
Hopefully. So Robbie, I understand you are doing a college course at the moment. Could you tell us a little bit about the course that you're doing?
Yeah, that's right. I'm doing an online course with Maynooth University. It is Diversity and Inclusion Equality Studies. It's very, very interesting. It kind of gives a lot about the insight into where stereotypes came from. Like being blind myself, reading into it, kind of stereotypes such as a few hundred years ago that people, if someone was different, they'd avoid them, because it's just, lack of awareness, I suppose, back a few hundred years ago. But it goes deeper than that, so I won't bore you with it, but it is very interesting.
And is this course online, Robbie, or are there any meetings in classroom too?
Oh, yes, it is. No, it's online, but my class would be once a week, sometimes once every 2 weeks, and I would use MS Teams for that. Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, okay.
So technology coming in there again,
Okay, and Robbie, are you a JAWS user, or what do you use when you're accessing these meetings?
I would, like in both at home, both professionally and for my own leisure, I would use JAWS. So, I mean, I have a laptop here, 2 laptops here in front of me. One is for work and the other one is my own personal laptop, and I have the JAWS on both. Yeah. And I have MS Teams on both as well for meetings or whatever it may be. Okay,
great. So, Robbie, I think one thing that's really clear here is that you must have a really hectic schedule. So, in addition to working full-time, you're studying in college. But as well as that, you're a motivational speaker, as I mentioned earlier, and a stand-up comedian. So firstly, how exactly do you find to do everything? Fit it all in?
Well, at the moment, that's all on hold at the minute. The likes of motivational talks and the comedy. Yeah. I started only just dabbling in comedy a couple of years ago, but more so the motivational speaking I've been doing outside of my regular job. I've been doing it for a number of years now.
Okay. And you enjoy that, Robbie?
I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
Just for the pointing out, JP, to people, I would give them a story or two about me, and situations I've got myself into due to blindness, and I would make humour of them as well, make light of them, so I would have the people that are listening, laughing, so it kind of relaxes them. But then I also point out that regardless of a disability, or regardless of, everybody has things they can't do. Mm-hmm. So I would point it to them that, a disability is something that you can't do or something you have difficulty doing. That's what a disability is. Mm-hmm. So everybody has a disability of some sort because everybody has something they can't do or have difficulty doing. But more importantly, that's only a short list. More importantly, you've an endless list of things that you can do. So as opposed to looking at disability, I try and encourage people to look at this ability that we all have.
Yeah, I think it's a really important message to get across, Robbie. I have to say, I did come across your website recently, Robbie. It's www.optimisteyes.com for our listeners who want to check it out. And on the site, there's a lot of information about it. It was your own personal journey of living with sight loss. And I think one of the things that really comes is very evident on the site is your very much positive and can-do attitude towards life, Robbie. Also on the site are several testimonials from people who have heard you give motivational talks. And if it's okay with yourself, I'd like to relate some of these testimonials.
Yeah, no problem.
So just a couple here. So one person wrote, Robbie Forde comes across as a practical, humble, down-to-earth, friendly guy with a lot of love and respect for his friends and family. He brings with him a hope that even when faced with the worst of barriers in life, it is not only possible to get through them all with sanity intact, but also to keep smiling and joking along the way. That's one. And another person wrote, the day Robbie came, I was in a bad headspace and was feeling frustrated with my life. But the minute he started telling his story, I forgot about how I was feeling. And it made me realize that if he could overcome his problems and succeed, then so could I. He really inspired me, and I thank him for that. Since then, I decided to go to college myself and make something of my life. So there's two really impressive testimonials I'll be taking from your site, and it must be a great feeling to know that you're making such a positive impact on other people's lives.
When I started doing this, I didn't realise it would have such a positive impact like that on people's lives, and I'm absolutely thrilled that it does, because I'm just a regular bloke, just like regular man, just like any other 38-year-old, really. Just the difference is I'm blind,
Yeah.
So hearing stuff like that and getting feedback like that from people, and it's very rewarding to hear that. But it's also very encouraging to encourage me to persist and keep going and keep doing the motivational talks.
Yeah, of course. And Robbie, I know the motivational talks that you give can be to various groups of people. So, for example, students or people in employment. I wonder, could you tell us how different, if it's the case, you find the talks you give in schools, for example, to the ones you might give to people in employment? Not maybe in terms of the content, but perhaps in terms of the reaction and the questions that you get.
The younger people, they be teenagers, are more I have to say, ask more questions, because I think the older people are set in their ways and they're more rigid and they're afraid to ask questions.
Yes.
So I would encourage both groups to ask me questions. With the teenagers in schools, I mean, the reason I go into schools is and to teenagers, because they're at a vulnerable age where they don't know what direction they're going in life. You know, they're confused and they're looking at their peers and looking at their, you know, friends and other people in their class, and they're wondering why, you know, Johnny can play football and Johnny's good at athletics and they're not, but they're missing out on what they can do. They're looking at what others can do, but they're forgetting what they can do themselves, you know? So different questions, like, I mean, some funny questions, you know, would be asked, like, if I, you know, do you know what colours look like?
Yeah.
So, because I was sighted, like, I was talking to, one time I remember the school, and I was saying to the guy, I says, well, what colour do totally blind people see? People that are born blind.
Yeah.
And naturally enough, a few of them said, oh, black, of course.
Yeah.
And I said, well, how can they see black if they don't know what black looks like?
Yeah.
And that really kind of, you know, blew them away, like, to think, oh, geez, yeah, I forgot about that, like, you know. Didn't realise that.
Yeah. And Robbie, as I mentioned earlier, I understand you do stand-up comedy. So how did you start getting involved in that, and whereabouts have you performed?
I was kind of, I don't know if bullied is the right word into it, but it was out in Swords, a pub called the Lord Mayor's, and a guy kept asking me for a number of months would I do it. So just to shut him up, basically, I said I would, and I was terrified. So I did that, and I joke about and make light of blindness, like the way I do in the talks that I give, but more so on a stage, you know, be more kind of adult humour on it, you know, in the comedy.
Yeah.
But I make light of blindness, and I think that is very important as well, because there's such a lack of awareness in society about disabilities. Mm-hmm. And people make assumptions that someone that's blind, for instance, wouldn't be able to work. They wouldn't have a regular life, wouldn't go for a pint, wouldn't, you know, have a regular life just the same as someone that's sighted. So in doing the comedy, I make light of that, and it actually opens people's eyes as well. Yeah. So I would bring a guide dog with me. Now, this is the thing. I don't have a guide dog. So just to be like, us Irish are very good at self-deprecation, you know?
Sure.
So what I do is I just bring a lead with me, and there's no dog at the end of it. But Robbie doesn't realise that, because the poor fella's blind, like, he doesn't realise there's no dog there. So I just make humour out of it, and it goes down very well.
Yeah.
You know?
Very good. So Robbie, technology is obviously evolving so quickly. How do you keep up to date with the latest technology?
I wouldn't necessarily be a very techie person. So if I do come across new technology, which, as you said there, is, you know, moving all the time, it's evolving, and new things are coming out all the time, I would give the likes of yourselves a shout in the National Council for the Blind and the labs at ncbi.ie is a very, very helpful email to have, and I shoot it off to you guys, and you can steer me in the right way, which is have done with certain technology. It's very, it's great support, so thanks again for that.
Great, Robbie, that's good. I'm glad you find it helpful. So Robbie, it's clear that technology has played and certainly continues to play a significant role in your life in a lot of ways. And can I ask, like, what advice would you give to someone who has sight loss and is just starting out using technology?
Number one is don't be afraid. Because technology, when I started in the Council for the Blind, I remember I was 17 years of age, and I was being introduced to technology, and I found, because I was sighted before and I was able to see the screen on a computer, well, you know, going from being able to see it to having to listen to the likes of the JAWS screen reader technology reading back to me what's on the screen, I thought to myself, this is, how am I going to do this? Yeah. But it's just persistence, and as I went on, more and more technology started developing that my friends were using, even though they're not blind, but it was blind friendly. like the GPS on a bus, like I mentioned earlier, and stuff like that. So just don't be afraid. Try it. I mean, with these smartphones and all out now, you know, you'd have people thinking, you know, I wouldn't be able to use that. You know, technology is way too advanced for me. You can just get a basic smartphone, and it's not that hard at all. So don't be afraid. Try it. Don't steer away from it until you try it. Don't knock it till you try it, as they say.
Okay, well, that's great advice. And Robbie, thanks very much for joining us today on the show. It's been great talking to you.
No, lovely talking to you, JP, and thanks a million. And anytime, and if anybody wants to give me a shout on optimisteyes.com, that's optimisteyes.com, please do, because I'm right here, and any questions I'm more than happy to answer.
Fantastic.
Thanks again,
Take care.